There. Good. All right. Good morning, guys. How are you guys today? How was that first session, guys? Everybody get some energy in there? All right. So I hope you all know what course you're in here, right? It's how to build a database from 10,000 to 50,000, right? Over a few years. And that's basically what my goal and mission was when I started that on that path. And the reason I did that is the biggest thing I looked at is I wanted to have a business that I could sell. That's why I started doing it. So what's the biggest company in the world? Which is the biggest, not real estate based, what's the biggest company in the world? Facebook, Amazon, why are they Google? Why are they the biggest company? Database. That is exactly why I started doing this, right? And I have goals to hit 100,000, 200,000 over the next 5, 10 years, right? I want everybody's data because with that, I can do whatever I want. I can market, I can hit them, I can do whatever, whether it's through monthly mailers, you want to call, whatever you want. That's why I built that up. And that's why I will continue to do it over my career. All right. So basically, as you see, we went 5 times the lead database in 2 years for social media, right? Went from times that 10,000 to we're just under 50,000 right now. We've been cleaning some of it up. All right. So what we wanted to do is leverage that through social media and online presence. Okay. Again, my name is Jason O'Keefe. I am from Canada. So you guys are fortunate in the US. You have a lot of other lead sources that we do not have, right? It is very restricted for us. We cannot buy seller leads. We cannot, they just don't exist in Canada, right? And a lot of the big companies don't know how to deal with postal code. It's all zip code based. So I'm jealous of you guys. I could have grown that probably twice as much if I lived in the US, right? And I also know I can move in any market and hammer down real quick. All right. So about me, I was a realtor since 2005. I worked at, as you can see, 3 different companies. I now own part of a brokerage, a smaller brokerage. It's basically all Keller Williams guys, but that's basically who we are. As you can see, part owner Davenport. When I started, I was doing 30 to 40 deals every year up until 2016. 2016, I almost quit the business. I was bored. I was doing 30 or 40 deals every year, making over $200,000, and I was bored. I hate to say that, but that's the honest gut truth. I remember the conversation. Right? So I ran into a company at the time, was Keller. They taught me how to build stuff, and that's what I started to do. Right? So, and the reason I say it's just Keller is that was just the company that I went to that taught me how to start to build a database. All the companies do that at different levels. I don't care what company you're with, right? And again, I'm not promoting them. I'm not with them anymore, but they kind of just showed me a direction and I found something, right? The other thing was I didn't have a coach, right? I wasn't being coached. That was part of why I went to a company that had a coaching system, right? So the first 60 days I went there, I went from using my Excel spreadsheet, Outlook, my phone, my Gmail, and I just spent 60 days putting all my, anybody I had in my system, I put in my database. I did 55 deals the next year. Just by putting people in my database and starting to send them something. So that's how it started. So if you guys are looking to build a big database, what I want you to do is it starts with you. It starts with you going through your phone. It starts with you going through your emails, any lead you ever got, anybody you ever knew. And I tell young people today, I don't care if they're 19 years of age or 20, you put them in your database because they will buy. The average person buys 5 to 7 homes in their life. All right. And you can figure that out by just how it goes up, right? It doesn't matter who you know. If you're a 20-year-old kid, go to your parents, ask them for their database. Your number one job is to ask everybody for their information. Get it in your database, whether they're going to sell or buy at this time, because you don't know who will and when. And then I hired him in to help me get that through that. And then in 2018, I started hiring some agents to give leads out to. So I started buying leads online, right? Some of the lead sources I used back then were Bold Leads, which you guys do have in the US, I think still. Agent Locator was a Canadian-based company. Brevity, All right, that's where I moved my CRM to. And I started using Rivety for their leads. And by the end of 2018, I had over 5,000 leads. All right. So you can see the progression real quick, probably from 3, 4, 500 in 2017 to 5,000. Okay. It doesn't take much to start. And that's the biggest thing you guys want to learn. It doesn't take much, but it starts with just, when you first start doing it, you have to do it yourself. Nobody else knows what's in your database. Nobody else knows who to add. You guys got to start there. And then just make it your mission to consistently add. I tell the 20-year-olds on my team right now, every day you go out, go and add one person. That's your job. Add one person to your database every day, right? You do that for 5 years, you'll have 1,500 people in your personal database. I guarantee you will have a massive business. Absolutely. If you only stay in touch with them monthly, you will still have a massive business. And the reason I do this is I tell everybody it takes 3 to 5 years of your career to be the #1 agent people will call. Everybody in this room, when you started out, or before you started out, you knew 3 to 5 realtors. Whether through signs, personal, right? You need to earn the right to be that #1 person. And the way you do it is you start databasing and you start adding people. All right? Nicole's wow. So then 2019, we started to do, now we're up to 140. Again, starting to work the database, starting to call, stay in touch with people, everything going along like that. Having a system in place, there's a lot, even if you're a solo agent, there's a lot of companies out there you can use to stay in touch with that database. All right. We then got up to 10,000 leads. And this is when I decided even more that this needs to continue to grow. You can use it for many things, right? I revamped the team. I found different people. I had 3 agents leave my team, right? They left when I was away. They took everything. They took all our staging stuff and they disappeared, right? Not a happy camper when you come back from vacation and the 3 of your top agents have left your team. So then what I did, I revamped it. I hired a director of sales and I made him in charge of all the new agents coming in. Hired a second admin. Looked at new lead sources. So now my thing was, I got 10,000. Now I need to really ramp that up. The main company we went to was YLocal. And now we had to, because we had all our CRM at one spot, it didn't work with YLocal. So now I had to take the whole database of 10,000 people and move it to follow up on. Because that was the #1 way they used it, right? So again, as you build your leads up, and you're really using social media and using other things like that, you need to have a CRM system that will support that system. All right, that's huge. You have to have systems in place. And I will tell you right now, with our database and where it is, we are constantly tweaking the system. So you guys need to figure out how you're going to go. You're going to take all these leads, and if you're going to start spending money and buying stuff and all that, how are you going to work through it? What's the lead flow through it? What's the follow-up system through it? They can be very expensive if you just let them sit. You better have an idea. If you're a sole agent, by the amount of leads you can deal with. And as you grow from there and you earn some money, if the idea is you want to build a team and you want to do other things, you can then use that money to continue to buy leads. And then, you can start to recruit your team. All right. But again, system follow-up is the only way this works. Otherwise, I recommend for everybody, don't do it. Unless you're willing to go big and you're good with it. You're going to start spending money to buy 10,000 leads and stuff like that, right? Because we buy almost 12,000 leads a year. Right? So then COVID hit. And I'm sure just like you guys, I mean, we were in Canada, they hammered us down even more. I decided because I'd done a good job building the leads up and the database up, I doubled down on my spending. It's the same thing that's going to happen right now is people are going to retract on what they can spend because they're not going to be able to do deals. So I'm going to tell you right now, in the next year is an amazing time to hammer down on leads. The money you will spend will double your business because people will start to retract. You guys all have people in your marketplace that are on internet leads or buses or billboards, whatever they are. You watch the amount of people now that pull back. It is going to happen over the next year because they're afraid to spend the money and do it. if you have the systems in place that you built over time, it's not a fear. You know that it'll work, right? So that's where we started there. And then you also can do, like, we do our own Facebook ads, we do our own Google ads, but we also leverage out other companies that do it a lot better than us. Again, started to fix systems again so that we could ramp up. And then we got rid of some of the ISAs and agents that we had because we felt that they weren't doing the job we needed. So we actually retracted a little bit, kept the better people to work that database and the social media side of things, and then we could go from there. 2020, team went up to 185 deals. We got up to 25,000 that we're at. So we're doubling down when COVID hit. That's what happens, because what happened was leads cost so much money for wherever you are. Bigger cities, they cost more money, right? Just because there's more agents buying it. What happened was because everybody retracted, our lead costs actually went down and we doubled the amount of leads. All right. Now, as I think Kyle said, it's 13 months for the average internet lead to come through. You have to have a system to follow up. All right. I can't stress that enough. Going big on this, if you don't have the systems in place, you will lose a lot of money. All right. At that time, 2020, we hired now a social media director who's sitting right here. So what her job was now, just to make sure we did social media properly. How do we expand it? We use it to recruit also for agents, because now what we do is we actually post on their social media, part of the thing on the team. They have to give us access, of course, to their Facebook and all that to it. But again, it is all driven. They can build their database. They can build everything there. Everything funneled back into the CRM. Everybody's happy. Then we got the problem here. We had almost too many leads because they were coming in fast and furious, and we couldn't handle them. Right? We were dropping the ball. Right? Again, systems in place, having the right people that will follow up. All right? Can't call fast. Some of our leads were sitting for a day or two. That's way too long. Right? Remember, when they sign up on your site or on Facebook or Instagram, whatever it is, they are also signing up on other people's sites. It's the first one to that. I have a story about one of the agents on my team. She's been in the business 19 years. She told me, no, I would never call in 5 minutes. I would never do it. I would never do this. I would never do this. She's looking to buy a property in Florida, sign up on someone's site. Person called her back in 30 seconds. She said, oh, that was amazing. Right? Get out of the limiting belief that people think, oh, they don't want to be bothered that fast. They do. They're on there. The other, I've never personally done it, but some people are on there. People work shift work on that. If you get a lead at 11 o'clock at night, people say you should call that lead. Because guess what? They're up. They're signing in. We don't call after 9, but I mean, you can definitely do that. But that's what you're that type of person that doesn't mind bugging somebody at 11 o'clock, right? I also learned not to text leads at midnight. They don't like it, right? Especially if they didn't sign up at that time, right? So I got in trouble for that because I thought I just sent a text some night. I was sitting around the house doing something. I was texting people on the thing, and I got somebody called me back and just laid into me because he was trying to sleep, and I texted him. So when we first started, we would have all the leads go to the agent. So that was how our system was, right? It would just basically round robin to all the agents. And then I allowed them to do it at their pace, which was wrong. Okay. And I'm telling you all the things I shouldn't have done because I lost a lot of money learning these things. So I then took it away from them and I went and worked with an ISA company called Conversion Month. We had them making the call, right? So they make the first calls, they pass them on to the agents, what I would call opportunities. Online leads are opportunities. If you've got ISAs, you got people calling for you, you're calling you, it's an opportunity. It's not a genuine lead, I'll call it. How's that? It's not like an appointment set. Most ISA companies that you deal with or your own ISAs, they're giving you opportunities. The agent still has to make it. And you will find, if you do use an outside company, sometimes what they say is not what you're going to hear when you end up doing it. It's just a process. All right. They don't know, especially we have ISAs in the Philippines. They don't know all the cities in the area. They don't know the language. You never know, right? And then you're also going to have opportunities where you now try and call the people and they don't answer. It happens. Again, it's a numbers game. All right. Yeah, agents did not follow up consistently. That's been our number one issue in our database, in our lead. It's having a system to follow up, but 90% of agents don't follow up properly. All right. Spend all the money you want, but if you can't get this in the right spot, slow it down. All right. Slow it down. Don't buy as many leads. All right. 2021, team got up to 243 deals. Right. But as you can see the progression. And we were, I think just at the end of 2020, we just got to about just under 50,000. Now what we've actually been doing is cleaning some of the stuff out. Right. We've actually spent time getting new leads and cleaning out some of the dead stuff. Because remember, people will unsubscribe, they'll give you bad phone numbers. So we decided just to start cleaning it up. So we're basically cleaning up, sitting kind of around that number where we're cleaning up and pulling in at the same time, right? The other thing with that is we don't send mass mailers through our CRM. We use another company to do it, right? So what you can use MailChimp, Send Out Blue for us, we use. And the reason we did that is that they unsubscribed over here, they didn't unsubscribe in our CRM. All right. So we wanted to make sure we had leads in different spots and how we go after them. So something to think about if you are going to email out of your follow box or whatever CRM you're using, have a secondary one to do those monthly blasts. Because that way you still have control over here. Now remember, you can, even if they unsubscribe from your newsletters or whatever you're doing, you can still use your own personal Gmail, Outlook, whatever the heck is, right? But remember, when you get up to this number, it's automation. Nobody on your team can go through that many calls. I don't care. Like we have 4 ISAs now. They rotate through every 90 days or every 120 days. They have to hit everybody in the system. Consistently hit that all the time, right? It's a lot, you know, they're dialing 250, 300 dials a day, right? We, again, continue to buy leads. We will not stop doing that. That's kind of the business we're in. That's how we built our business. I didn't do billboard. I tried radio. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Just gonna give you my. And anytime anybody has any questions, please just put up your hand. Yeah.
Back to, is it working?
Yeah.
Back to scrubbing the leads. What's the criteria that you used? Like how long were they in your system and what determined it was a lead that could be scrubbed that didn't have any opportunity anymore?
If they unsubscribe. That's everyone else stays in my database. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, because in our system, if you unsubscribe, we can still call you on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. If they unsubscribe and still have a phone number, they stay in the system.
Okay.
So what I mean by scrubbing them out is they have either a bad phone number and or no email. No way to reach them. I mean, we still have some people in there with addresses. And we've done in the past where we were sending out home evaluations, like we were taking sending out monthly marketing things to everybody that had an address. We were doing that for a while, right? But when you get up to 50,000 and 10,000 people like that, that's a lot of money to send it out. So we stopped doing those, right? Yeah, basically, even if they tell us they've bought, right? They get put on a what we call a contact list, and it says bought and sold, but we don't take them out of our system. All right. The only people we take out are basically they've unsubscribed or they absolutely say, please take us out of the list. We'll leave it like that. Like honestly, the amount of people that actually are really mad at you on 50,000, honestly, I might get one a week. That is just rude. A lot of times I get please remove me from the list. And we do have an unsubscribe button on all that stuff, but sometimes we'll get emails. So I'll wake up in the morning and I might get 2 to 3 that just say please unsubscribe. All right. One of the things we've done now is through YLocal is they have a thing called sunsetting. So after so long, so what we did is we went back in and now we have an ISA going through them all and turning them all back on right now. The first week when we did that, we had 100 people come back into our site looking. Right. So just little tricks of, even though you think people unsubscribe, remember, most people, and you guys are all the same, you may get an email from a company and they'll send them out once a month. You may open only 2 or 3, right? So sometimes you're like, no, like my phone goes off all the time. I just wake up in the morning and go, no. And every once in a while, I'll like maybe click on it to see what it is. That's what that is. Remember, They're opportunities. You're not going to get them all, right? I would tell you right now, most online leads, if anybody you're talking to that you buy online leads or you talk about this in social media companies or any of this thing, if they try and sell you on anything more than 5% transaction, you need to move on. Now, you guys do have Zillow and some other things we don't have. Those are better quality, but you're paying higher numbers for those, right? You're paying 25, 30%, or whatever the rates are right now. From the online portals and that, anybody tries to sell you anything, if they say it's over 5% to get, they're lying. Please move on to another company. We actually only do about just under 2%. And it's not because the leads are bad, it's our follow-up bad. I know for a fact that I can tell in our system, because we keep all the bought and sold people in there, I can see over 5% have bought or sold from online leads. I can't see. There's also that portion of the 50,000 that I can't. They don't respond or do anything. But we know that 5% of the leads in there will sell. All right. So we then went from more Facebook, we went to more PPC. Okay. We found that PPC were just, they transacted faster, but you can't build them as fast. Does that make sense? So Facebook, you get more leads. But Google are better leads. Kind of the way. So it depends on which way you're going. If I want to turn it back on to get more leads, I'll hit Facebook, but they take longer to deal with. All right. They can take up to 2 years. We just did one the other day for 3 years ago. Right. But the agent followed up consistently, right? Started to brand and do our own lead gen with companies. Again, now we started, I was buying them all the time. Now we started doing our own Facebook. We started doing our own Google stuff. It's cheaper that way. If you know what you're doing, it's cheaper leads because you're not paying a company to do it. But you better have the systems in place to do with it. If I was starting out again, I would still buy leads and just a lower amount. And I would make sure I wouldn't buy a ton. Honestly, if I started out again, I'd try and get 100 leads in a month. If I was a solo agent starting, I look for a company that I can get 100. Because I know out of that 100, I'm going to do 2 to 3 deals. All right. And that gets you going from there, right? But again, it's the long game. Everybody in real estate, again, it's all about a marathon. It's little sprints to make a marathon. Anybody ever run a marathon? Right? They teach you what? 1 mile at a time? Yeah. That's what it is, right? That's lead follow-up, right? So then we ended up, so when we went to the ISA company, we didn't do any more deals than we did when the agents had it. All right. And again, it was because the ISA company was sending them to us. The agent would get the opportunity and then wouldn't follow up. So why would I spend $35,000 a year on an ISA company if it's not doing any more value? And the agents were asking they said that they could do it better if they had first calls because they were saying, well, that information I got wasn't relevant to what the conversation should have been. So I put it back to the agent. All right. So if you're going to start, do you have a proper CRM? That is the first thing you need to build it out of. You have to have it. How are you going to tackle the leads? All right. What is that system? Again, start small. Whether you're generating your own or you're buying from somebody else, start small enough that you can handle what you have. Right? You'd be amazed at the people I talk to and I coach that I go and I look at their CRMs and they haven't learned how to deal with the leads they just had. Right? There's leads from months ago or weeks ago. That's not going to be the way you need to do it. Less leads are better. And we found that even with the agents on our team. All right. We were giving them leads all day long. Here you go. Here you go. You're getting 1 or 2 a day, every day. I found that what happened was they wouldn't keep up with them. And our requirements on any lead we have is you call 3 times on day 1, once on day 2, once on day 3, and every 3 days for 90 days. So now you start pounding people with leads or yourself. That's a lot of leads you're calling in 90 days. Remember, there's an attrition that people will fall off. That's just what we had as a lead category. If you talk to them, you might move them in a hot, warm, or cold, we call it. But this is how you do it, right? But you need to have the systems in place to continually move these people through the system. How quickly should I follow up? 5 minutes or less. And really, it should be 30 seconds. But that's, we know life gets, you're gonna spend money, 5 minutes or less, you'll know really fast where they're at. From 5 minutes to 10 minutes, you get a 900% increase if you call in the first 5 minutes. They are on their computer signing in. They are there. All right. That should be the first thing. Again, it takes up to 13 months to follow up with any online lead. Online lead sources that we use to build our database now. Local is of course our biggest one. All right. I spend 12,000 US a month. That's like 15,000 Canadian. Right? It is a big bill, a big chunk of money to take in every month, but it works. Agent Locator is a Canadian company. Realtor.ca, that's you guys have realtor.com. Point to home. Leads to listings. OGO is another one you guys can use. I know it's down here. And then of course, now that we've built our own Facebook stuff, our own social media stuff, and we're branding ourselves more and more, we are getting way more leads into our own site. Organically, we're getting more and more and more because we spent the money and built it up, right? But again, as you see, it started with me just doing my own data, getting the money from that and pouring it back in. Full leads, brevity. We still don't have these right now, but what we did, we don't buy them anymore. But what we did do, yeah. Hold on, he's gonna give you.
So with your personal website or the company website that you're building, are you using an existing framework like Ylopo?
Ylopo does our website.
Okay.
They do this one. This one we built ourselves.
So where are you capturing that from? Is it just direct link?
Yep. Yeah. So everything that goes to everybody that signs in, they got a lead capture page, right? And then it's an even agent locator, just different landing pages, right? If you're really good at it, you can build different landing pages and everything. Everything you need to do is database driven back to you, right? That's why I'm not a big component of, unless you get big enough to do like billboards or do any of these things. That's a branding thing. That's not a lead capture thing, right? Everywhere I spend my money, I want the data back to you, right? That's what I'm pushing for. You'll see people in your marketplace that they'll send out monthly mailers, they'll do billboards, they'll do all these other things. That's branding. I think that's great if you've got a big budget, but if you want to get good, I mean, if you want to start just on your own, like farming in a small neighborhood and knocking on doors and doing that, that's a great way to start to build stuff like that, right? Use those tools to build this, right? The other reason I built this is, again, I want to, in the long run, when I retire, if I got a 200,000 person database, right? The biggest thing in industry is when you retire as an agent, where does the database go? What do you do with it? Like it's worth nothing unless you keep working it. If I have 200,000 people in my database, want to bet I can't sell that? That's my retirement, right? Like I actually have I shouldn't say I organized something where two guys that left the industry, I took their database, right? There's a book called The Golden Handoff. I actually went to them when they were retiring and I took their database. And now I put it in my system. And every time we do a deal, I pay them a referral. I've added almost 3,000 people to our database from 2 people. Like that's because they don't mind doing it with me because they know I know how to work. Right? A lot of people, they get out of the business, they'll hand their database to a young person, but that young person doesn't know how to run a database. If you're ever going to look at getting out of business or partnering with somebody, you need to make sure somebody knows how to work a database. Or just all that data, just throw it away. All right. Again, Facebook, of course. Again, Facebook goes through different times where they change different things up and they do that. That's why I like when I was with Ylopo, they would come, when someone was coming along to change the way Facebook does advertising, they were there to fix it, right? That's why I use companies like that, right? You got to find a company, I don't care what company, there's like Think, there's some other things out there that do a great job of bringing in leads, right? You just got to figure out which one that works for you, right? Based on the CRM you have. Google, of course. Right now, almost all online leads come from Facebook and Google. I think it's 51% of all online leads from Facebook and Google. So different companies use your listings to advertise. You guys have that down here, right? These three companies are learning how to get data now. They're going to start selling data soon. So the same way you do it through Facebook and Google, these three companies have 49, I think it's 49% of the market share that are on there that people use all the time. They are going to learn how to mine data because they realize that that's the biggest thing they have. So they are going to start using their platform to get on their leads and sell them back to you. So be prepared for that. That's why it's important to know the different companies you work with. Are they ready for that? All right. Because that's an untapped market. I mean, how many guys, even like, I got a kid on my team who does TikTok. Right? Like, I don't know how to do a TikTok, but he gets so many likes in that. So what he's trying to do now is figure out how can you get more people from that into there, right? Because he's just using his time to do it, but he's now got to figure ways to get that into making sure he can build his data with that. Question there.
Do you tap into LinkedIn at all?
Lead.
LinkedIn?
Yeah. So there, yeah. Actually, I just did that myself. I paid a company through Clubwell. I think it was Link Solutions. And they just started sending like introductions to different CEOs in my marketplace. The funny thing was I was getting a bunch and I wasn't responding to all of them the way you should. And the one day I got one and the lady said, you know what? Actually, I was just thinking about selling my house. You should come over. That's what it was. So for that few $100 I've been doing all the time. Yeah, I got a listing of it, right? Or a listing attempt, right? She's not selling it. She bought last year. Market's down 20%. It's going to be a tough stuff. But what it's done now is now using that company, I can now run little events in my office where I'm going to do an investor meeting, right? I'm going to do a first-time homebuyer thing in our office and using the internet that way. Now I can invite all the people from LinkedIn. LinkedIn's such a great source. And actually a lot of the people in LinkedIn have their emails, right? Which you used to be like when I came on to Wailopo, you could actually take the Facebook feed and they could bring it over. I got there about 1 month too late to get that. I would have loved that. Like I got 3,000 people on my Facebook, a lot of realtors, but I didn't want them over. But basically I wanted that feed, but I couldn't get it. I was a month late. They did do my LinkedIn right off the bat. And now what I've done is do this, so I could always pull it again, right? You guys got to think of all the different places, lead sources and that to build it, right? And you can build it fast over 2 years, or you can do it over 20. It doesn't matter. I'm telling you right now, everybody you come in contact with, you need to be putting in here. And now you can use these to build your social media presence. They can find you on there and you can brand, and it just keeps bringing leads into your system.
Hey, what kind of tools do you use to connect people from Facebook and Google? Is there certain platforms like listings to leads you're using specifically to drive website traffic or
Yep.
Google? Like, what are you using?
Usually, mostly for us, it's Wailopo. We let them do the heavy lifting, and we take all the value out of it, right? But again, you got to look at your ROI on any of these things, right? For Wailopo, it's 4 to 1. All right. We've done over the last 3 years. I think we're just under 150, 160 deals through Wailopo. It's also for, show of hands, who's thinking about building a team or who has a team right now? You want to talk about the best way to recruit? I've gone from 13 agents to 30 in 2 years. Because people want leads, they want opportunities, right? So that's why I did this too. Now what happens is those 30 agents, I'll tell other people that, oh, I get leads here, I get this here, right? It just keeps driving people to your system, right? But again, you need to make sure that people will take them. I have one lady on my team. She's been around for 20 years. She does not want leads. She's got careful, but she's okay with that, right? She doesn't want leads. She has 20 deals a year, makes $180,000. She's happy. She doesn't take any online leads because if I give her online leads, she won't do them anyway.
So once you got your database to a certain point that you started recruiting people, building your team, how did you reach out to your entire database, source those or feed those leads or whatever, and then hand them off to your team? Or like, what was the process there?
So again, what we do basically is when the leads come in, we round robin them to the people that, sorry. That know how to deal with it, right? Online leads are different animal than people that, you got some agents out there that just are really good with their spear, let them be with their spear. Online leads are a different animal. Again, it takes 13 months to work, right? Yes.
Are you still using Follow Up Boss in conjunction with Ylopo as your CRM or what's your
100%.
CRM? Okay.
Right? 100%. Like all of our stuff we've done, like in Follow Boss, or and you can use it with some of the other coach clients I have to do it with different companies. It's all about smart list for us. All right. So if anybody has Follow Boss or anything like this, it's all smart list. The understanding is it tells the person when they need to make that call. So it prompts them across their top list. If you know, it comes in as a lead, it says they have to make 3 calls. It won't move along. It'll move along to the next one, but we can check it to see if they made 3 calls. Then they have to do the next day. So if an agent does a really good job, by the end of the day, they should have zeros across from their new leads to their back to the website, because Ylopo does a really good job of retargeting. That's why another big thing, we know when people come back on the site. So then they got to go through those the next thing. Then they go through their hots, forms, and colds, and their tasks every day. An agent on my team, if you want leads, that has to be down to 0 fast as you can.
Okay, and that kind of leads to my second question, which is once the leads come in, building out your automation from there, you're just using smart lists. And is all of your follow-up based on phone calls, or do you have automated text messages and that kind of thing going out as well?
So in Ylopo, there's also Raya, right? That gets done there, but that doesn't click off a smart list. So new leads have to be called. Absolutely. Once they move into hot, warm, or cold, they can be then email or text. The agent can do that. I'm okay with that, right? Because not everybody wants a phone call all the time, right? Not everybody, a lot of people want a text. Some people want an email. Some people want messenger, right? So you've got to figure out that if you start talking to a person, you need to figure out the best way they want to be talking. Now, if they come back on as a back to website, to somebody that's been on our system, we had one the other day, back to the website after 900 days. That needs to be called, right? Right? Yeah. Why are you back? And a lot of the people we find with online leads is you need to stop asking for that appointment the first time. You can't just say, hey, you're on our site. You know, are you looking to buy or sell? That is not what an online lead is. An online lead, again, is 13 months. So it's, hey, I noticed you were looking at this property on my website. What about that house that you like? Like, we start building relationships. And that's what online leads are. They're relationship building.
The opportunity in the past to manage a large database as well, like a 90,000 person database, and your numbers are absolutely accurate. You know, a new lead, brand new lead is going to be, you said 13 months. Our data showed it was like 300 days. So it's pretty close.
Yep.
And so a lot of agents, new agents come on and they want new leads. They want new leads. If I was a new buyer agent right now and I needed to sell a house this month,
yep,
I'd go find a whole bunch of leads that were 9 months, a year, 2 years old. Because statistically, they're much higher likely to buy than anybody else.
100%. We have, yeah.
And I love the way you're going through some of those things. The number one thing that brings people back to our website now, I no longer have that database, I have a different database, is having them set up on a home search. The pretty house is what brings them back to the database. So they get the daily or the weekly email, they see the house, hey, they click on it, they come back.
Yep.
So with our team, the number one thing when we get a new lead, like I said, not to necessarily set the appointment. I mean, if it's there, take it.
Sure.
It's to find out what they're looking for and get a home search set up.
Yep.
And every time you talk to them after that, is to make sure that that is accurate. And do we need to change anything?
100%.
Because that brings them back.
And that's building the relationship, right? So when we have a thing called matrix. It's where we send them out their actual, like what they want once we talk to them, but we leave on the Ylopo search also. Right? And the reason we do that is people look at multiple sites. If they can't find something they like, they will look at another person's site. I want to control them to have 2 or 3 options on my site.
Yeah. So with your database being as large as it is, this question makes a lot more sense to ask you. What is the time frame that, like, how often do you want to have the house search set for? Do you want it to send it to them daily, weekly, as soon as things show up? And then on the flip side, for sellers,
Yep.
You know, in Wailopo, do you want it to be weekly, monthly, or quarterly?
I think it depends on when you've had conversations with them. I would say if you're trying to re-engage older leads, I do weekly. Once they've re-engaged now, then I would try and move them to daily.
For this, for buyers?
Both.
Both?
Yeah, I think at first for anybody, I would never leave a lead sitting on a month. And I think some of them will get frustrated on a daily if they're not there yet. Does that make sense? Like,
Yep.
yeah, if they're 13 months out and they're just exploring anything. But the beauty is of a lot of these systems that you can find, like Vital and other things, is it will tell you how many times they come back. Right? So we had an example. We had one the other day where the agent talked to the person 3 months ago. Said, we just have an issue at the hospital where we'll be probably a few months out. Now, my agents can cheat the system. Right? They can cheat when they don't talk to somebody by hitting log call, no answer. Like they can hit clear. They can cheat. All right. So this person kept coming back to the website, coming back to the website, coming back, and he just kept going clear, 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 clear. The last one I said was, thanks, Brian, for all the information you got us. We just bought a house. And I'm going to tell you, I can't tell you the amount of times that I see that. Drives me nuts. Right? And here's an agent that was struggling to do business. And I'm like, this person's looking once every 4 or 5 days. And you're just saying, well, I don't want to bother. Right? Bother them. Because listen, they may not want to bother you. Okay? Take that mindset out of them. And again, he didn't have to, it doesn't always even have to be real estate based. It can be, hey, I was in your neighborhood. I just wanted to reach out and say hi. I don't care if you're in your neighborhood. Right? Your job is to brand yourself to these people, and that when they get to that point, they are first to talk to you. But you have to know what they're looking for. You have to build that relationship. You have to earn their trust. Right? So that's why I said you guys need to learn how to follow up, stay in touch with them. It's harder with a big database because I can't watch everything. Like I get stuck sometimes. Honest to God, I get stuck. I should be thinking bigger up here. Every once in a while, I'll dive into the CRM and find stuff that drives me nuts, and I try and fix it. Then I move it to an ISA or VA to fix it. But there's times where I'll like, if I'm bored, I'll just sit there and I'll start sunsetting people. And it's amazing. The next day, I see like 4 or 5 people come back. Right?
And then, because you are buying so many leads, do you also use any tools to like skip trace?
No.
So if you get a bad phone number, you're not investing any efforts into finding the right phone number.
Sometimes a lot of these people, they put a bad, I mean, Local has a thing where you can put on bad number when they come back in, it just asks for the number again, but they can keep doing it. Like at the end of the day, if they're just going to keep giving me bad numbers and doing that, they're not going to buy with me anyway. Right? That's the thing. If you get enough of these, they are going to fall. Some are going to fall through the cracks. They are online leads, right? And some of the emails are weird and all that, right? You just scrub them out, right? It's just not worth your time. When you get to a database like that, you just don't have the time to have an ISA or yourself trying to find them all, right? Now, if they're opening their emails all the time, we might try and do some other things. Reach out and say, hey, one of the drip campaigns we have is, they get 4 times the email I'm asking for the phone number, right? Well, again, automate. It's really tough not to, right? There you go. 80% right now through Google Ever. Yeah.
Forgive me if you already answered this, but can you talk about splits that you do with your agents when you're giving?
So all my splits for my online leads is 50-50 on buyers, 60-40, 60 on seller leads. All right. I mean, that's basically, and then what I'll do is we'll move the lead accordingly to who we think is best to suit them, right? Because we have a wider range of areas, so we might move it to different cities, different agents, or if I got lower price points, I'll probably have them go towards the lower end, newer agents than the $1 million listings, right? Our average price point right now is 750, 800, right? For you guys, that's like 500,000 more, right? Like, so that's the worst thing for me. Every time I buy one of these leads, it's US, and it just kills me every time I have to spend 30% more on it, right? But it's still worth it, right? Yeah, again, Google tends to be better than Facebook. Now, there was a time where Facebook was just as good. Google's gotten better, and I'm actually finding out right now, I'm starting to spend a little bit more back on Facebook, right? again, you have to have the systems in place to deal with this over 13 months or whatever it is, right? So if you're building your team fast, which I did, I needed more leads. I went and got more Facebook clicks because I got to see how the new agents handled them and dealt with them. 20% Facebook. Yeah, we had about 800 to 1,000, right? The other day, all of a sudden we got 100 on one day. And we were like, what did we do different? Like, what happened, right? And we will take lease leads, right? And the reason I take lease leads, we've gone through moments where I'm like, no, I don't want them. Yes, I'll take them. I let the agents, the new agents take a lot of them. The one girl did 5 the other month. She made $5,000 doing it. Look at it from a lease lead as it's building your database. It's a client. They might rent now, but maybe they'll buy in the future, right? Or we've actually turned some of the lease leads. We'll send some of them if we think they have a high enough credit score or make enough money. We'll send them to our mortgage guy and he'll get them approved because they're not sure. So don't always rule out leases. Now there are some that just, that just don't work. It's just not high enough numbers, right? But if they're looking for a big enough budget, we're taking them. Right? The other big thing is social media, Google reviews. All right? That is another big thing. What? I'm over? All right, I'm over. There you go. I can talk about this stuff. There you go. Went from 10 social media posts to 50 a week. All right. You guys are getting I'll leave that up and see a picture of there. Drip campaigns, monthly email with CRM, market reports. We can't do home bot from Local. I wish we could. If they unsubscribe, we hit them with another one. 5% of leads are transacted. I'm telling you that right now. But you had better have a system. We do again about 2%, about 1.8. And that's just a bit of our team. There are social media, full-time photographer, stager, ISAs, 10 full-time agents, 10 part-time. Our licensing takes 6 months in Canada. 6 months minimum to 2 years to get licensed. So we did 150 million in sales. The bottom number is wrong. It's not 350. I think it's 0. 3.5 in GCI. 3.5 million, not 350 million. I love that. Maybe one day, right? Anyway, thank you guys. Anybody has any questions, anything like that? Please, I'm here today if you guys can reach out. And again, if you look me up on Facebook or on Clubwell, you guys have any questions about some of the different systems you use, I don't mind spending half an hour going over stuff with you on a personal level, all right? Thanks, guys.